Good evening, my bar rats. It's time to assemble here on another glorious afternoon. And that afternoon, it's April 9th, 2025. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday. My days are just mucked up, man. I keep thinking it's Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't even know. So I'm glad you guys are here hanging out with me, letting me know what day it is. And I'm happy that I get to see all of you once again because we have a lot of things to discuss. Even though it seems like it's a slow news day, it never seems to be a slow news day, especially with the one and only Donnie T doing what he does. And I want to give a special shout out to the people on Getter this afternoon. We are actually streaming there live today. So hello, Getter. As you can see, I even dedicated my chalkboard to you. So if you guys like my chalkboard, share the notification bell on Getter, repost it, let people know that we're out here doing things. And it's going to be a good day. And yes, I said there was not going to be any more shelves. There are more shelves. This thing has gotten a lot more than I wanted it to be. So yeah. Anyway, let's let's get to our first story of the night. What are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about China being outwitted by Trump, supposedly. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Makes for a great headline. Patel is out at ATF, which is a strange story because apparently the guy didn't even go there. He wasn't even there. I hope everybody realizes that your super team of podcast hosts and T-Pusa spokespeople may not be the best people to run your federal government. Now, are they better than Kamala and all them? Absolutely. That's not even a doubt. But at the same time, I think way too many people are doing the trust the plan, all that kind of nonsense. I don't really like it because it gives Trump a pass that he doesn't deserve. No elected official deserves a pass, is what I'm trying to say. So we have that. We're going to talk about how Harley Davidson, we've talked about it before. They've been struggling. This is going to impact them, the whole tariff thing, because they did a lot of their stuff overseas. I know they say made in America and all that kind of stuff, but they've actually offshored a lot of their production. And so they have a pretty, I guess you would say, woke CEO, and he's stepping down. And I don't know if they're going to do any better because the rumor is, and we're going to talk about it, that they're going to bring in the Bud Light lady, the lady that thought that Dylan Mulvaney would be good for Bud Light. That is now going to be the person running Harley Davidson. So good thing, bad thing, I don't know. And then finally, somebody in the YouTube chat asked, what is a Minecraft? Minecraft is a movie based on a personal computer game software. And it is doing a lot better than I feel it has any right to. And it's going to probably make $1 billion. I don't know. There's no accounting for taste. So it is what it is. I didn't review it because I only have so many brain cells left. And I'd like to keep as many of them as possible for as long as possible. So we'll discuss that as well. And anything that comes up during the show, guys. So it is very important that you hit the like button and you subscribe and you get involved. This show is only better when you guys get involved in the show with your comments, because that way I can, bounce off of you. Because right now it's just little old me. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get to, we got a couple hot takes, a couple things to talk about before we get to everything else. Now, let's see here. Where is it? I've got 14 screens here, and I have 14 screens here. First one is actually pretty neat, and I like it because I think it's something, it makes the hippies mad, and I like when the hippies are mad. Trump helps me because he makes the hippies mad, and I like that. I like that a lot. So, because hippies are awful people. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to have to be that guy. They are awful people, and they deserve to be as upset as possible. Good evening, G Money. I bet, you know, at this point, just any kind of skilled labor is hard to find. It is, especially since that's going the way of the dodo bird. Nobody wants to do it. All right, first story of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. That is not what we want to do. I am not ready for you guys, am I? This is nothing but a professional. Top-notch professional here. All right, here we go. Now I'm ready. Boom, boom. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Trump signs executive order on water pressure to restore shower freedom to shower, which is great because the water pressure stuff, like low flow toilets, they don't really work. Stuff tends to back up, if you get what I mean. And they're just not great. All these attempts to try and get like the hippies to like us are annoying, and they don't really do much. But anyway, just something that's pretty interesting. I think it's, you know, leave us and let us use as much water pressure as possible. Let's see. A global trade war roller coaster was not enough to distract President Donald Trump, from fulfilling one of his longtime priorities Wednesday, changing the federal definition of a showerhead, a move the White House said would end the Obama-Biden war on water pressure. And of course, as Trump likes to do, he had a nice soundbite. No, this was passed from what he's saying, it was passed during the Obama-Biden years. It wasn't done during his, according to him. So this is what Donald Trump had to say in regards to the Water Pressure Freedom Act, I guess we'll call it.
Executive orders and a memorandum all relating to deregulation, which has obviously been a major priority of your administration. The first of these is an executive order. The Biden administration launched what you've called a war on showers. They had certain regulations that basically killed the water pressure of showers and other water appliances.
You can say it. Go ahead. What are the appliances?
I mean, it's everything, sir. It's
dishwashers,
toilets, sinks. But the shower heads are a
There's
huge
no water. You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real deal shower head, they should have the ability to get one.
You buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers when no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. And I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. It's the same water. And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized. We're going to try and get all of these things, including straws, little thing like straws. We did straws a month ago where the paper straws were melting. They were dissolving. They weren't working well. And we went back to the plastic straws. We're going to get Congress to memorialize just about everything we've done here because most of it's common sense. But the water is horrible. When you go into anytime you see a new faucet, you know it's going to be a long wash of the hands. And so we're changing it. It's a big deal. I did it in the first administration. Biden came in his first week, and he had no idea what he was doing, but somebody told him to do it. In his first week, he put the restrictions on all the bathroom utilities. Even in areas that have so much water, they don't know what to do with it. You see those areas all the time with the flooding. So we're doing that, and we're going to get all of the things that you've seen. I think we set a record. We're up to almost 200 and 500 amendments. Nobody's ever done that many. We're going to get them approved by Congress.
All right, great job, Trump. There you go. Well, I mean, he just keeps talking. Granted, we all love to hear him talk, but you got the point. He wants more water, so that way he can wash his beautiful hair, beautiful. Which is a nice little joke, but it is what it is. I like to see it because, yeah, everybody in our YouTube chat is talking about the fact that the restrictors on them are just garbage. They're just terrible. And it just makes things worse. It's another part that breaks that has to be fixed. It's another restriction. And it's great. It is all about him. I mean, that is, you're correct. It is the Donnie T show. So you might as well just sit back and enjoy the ride. All right, folks, here is our second hot take here on Rick Cast. Once again, hello to everybody on Getter. We are happy to be on Getter. It took us a little while to figure it out, but we're on there and we're very happy to be there. So give us a like and a follow and leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. Leave me a little comment. Say hello. And I'll say hello back to you. Second story of the day. Let's see here. This one is for my Catholic bros. We're getting close to it. And so Catholic vote president grilled on foreign aid China at the Vatican ambassador hearing, which I'm sure these are all very important things for the Vatican ambassador, which, by the way, all the Catholic podcasters, a lot of them were hoping that their patronage to Trump would allow them this position. This was the position they all wanted. This one or the one to the Holy See. They were you know who I'm talking about. They were all kind of trying to get in the good graces to see if they could get there. Not this guy. Although I would do it, but I'm not going to kiss the booties to do it. Anyway, U.S. Senate confirmation hearing for Catholic vote President Brian Burek to serve as the U.S. ambassador to the Holy See took place Tuesday morning, with Burek facing on how he plans to represent the Trump administration's foreign aid cuts to the Vatican, as well as his position on the Holy See's relationship to China. I'm deeply honored and humbled to be nominated by President Trump to serve as the United States ambassador to the Holy See, which is the same thing. This is a role of great significance, and I'm grateful to the trust the President Trump and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has placed. Birch described the U.S. Holy See relationship as both unique and vital, highlighting its character being rooted in not only traditional diplomacy, but rather in shared commitments to religious freedom, human dignity, blah, blah, blah. All of these other things. So, you know, the hearing took place along Trump's ambassador nominees to Croatia and Chile. By the way, those are three pretty good spots, right? If you're going to be an ambassador, Chile, really nice place. My wife went there with one of her master's school, one of their trips. You know how they go away. Croatia is apparently gorgeous, very Catholic too. It's a very rooted in Catholicism. It's a beautiful place. And then the Holy See. So those are three pretty good spots if you're a Catholic or if you want a pretty sweet ambassador job. So good for them. And it's kind of funny because this one for Catholics is in particularly Croatia is great. Croatia is great. I have friends that have been there, and the Catholicism there has not died. In fact, it is stronger than ever in those places. And it's a little gem. It's a little gem. People that have gone there said it's just a great place to be. But it's going to be it's interesting with these hearings, and this is all I'm going to say about it. Because you're going to get Catholics in name only. If you're not a Catholic, we call them CINOs, Catholics in name onlys, like Dick Durbin and Jack Reed, pretty much any Democrat. There's a bunch of them on the Democratic side that claim their Catholicism and then vote to murder babies, like Tim Kaine, those kinds of people. So they're going to sit there and they're going to question this guy about his Catholicism and his relationship. Like, dude, you people don't even know what the hell you're doing. You people don't even know what's going on because you're too busy promoting the murder of the unborn. Like, don't question the guy about the relationship between the United States and the Holy See. Just stop it. But then again, it's nothing more than just a big, I don't want to say that because I'm trying to keep the show as clean as possible. It is a waste of time is going to be the word I'm going to use for it in order to justify their bloated, inflated salaries that they don't deserve. All right, one more hot take. Ooh, we got a like on Getter. Nice. What's up? That's pretty sweet. Thank you. All right, we got one more hot take here on Cast. Last one. Interesting. We've talked about this. I know Crotchety Elder has mentioned this, and a couple other people have mentioned this. People always talk about Western civilization and its colonialism. Amy Coney Barrett for ambassador of the moon. How about that? I'd rather put her in the moon than anywhere else around here. But yes, I agree with you, Brian Walsh. See ya, Amy Coney. What a disgrace to my glorious name. Anyway, we've talked about on this program when people mention like colonialism and how bad the West is, and particularly the United States and all these other things. We always like to say, you have no idea what the Chinese do to everybody. Crotchy, tell me what is it? Belt and Road, their Belt and Road plan or whatever it is, where they go in and they offer money for infrastructure to poor African nations or to like the Panama Canal. And in return, they charge ridiculous interest rates. And when you can't pay it, they go, oh, well, I guess we work here now. And then they just take it over. So this is just a story I want to highlight because it's an example of that. So this is from the AP. Beijing ups diplomatic pressure on Africa as the U.S. pulls back. This is one of the problems that a Belt and Road Initiative. Thank you. I kind of had an idea of what it was, but I've got to rely on you guys because half the time you guys are bailing me out here. So the Belt and Road Initiative, and this is one of the things that people worry about with these United States pulling back from the world stage and not being as involved. What about China? There's two minds to that. Yes, China will expand its reach because it's going to try that, but also understand that China is on a demographic clock. Its demographics are worse than ours, and whatever initiatives and whatever things they'll make, they're not going to be able to sustain them because Africa cannot consume all the cheap Chinese crap that they make because they're a manufacturing economy. They're not a consumer economy. So this stuff is really just trying to reinforce like the money they're going to give to these African nations. They're not going to turn around and buy stuff from Temu. And that's a big problem. Chinese diplomats threatened to cancel a summit and called upon two top officials in two African countries to pressure lawmakers to quit an international parliamentary group critical of China. Officials from the group told the Associated Press. It's an example on how far China will go to influence politicians overseas and how that pressure can succeed behind closed doors. And it continues. It's just something I want to bring up because people don't seem to understand. They want to blame the West and these United States for colonizing and all these other nonsensical terms that people want to use. But the Chinese are just as aggressive, if not more aggressive in these cases, to go after people or to try and influence, the smaller countries that don't have an opportunity. They come in with all this money and these countries are like, oh, okay, absolutely. We'll definitely take it. All right, so let's see here. Let's get to our first story of the day here on Rickcast. If you like what we're doing, get that thumbs up wherever you are on YouTube or on Getter or on Rumble. If you're on X, if Elon Musk decides to let the stream actually go, not that we care anymore. Now that we're on Getter, we really don't care what happens on X. They can go pound sand for all I care. Yeah, my relationship with X is pretty soured because they're absolutely terrible. They're terrible. They're just as bad as they were before. I would not invest a lot of money or promotion into X. I know and this is different. This is why I call out conservatives and liberals anywhere, anytime, any topic. Most people on the conservative side will not acknowledge that X is just as broken and censorious as it was before. They're like, oh, Elon bought X and now it's all this great stuff. It's really not. It's really not. It's great if you're Alex Jones, Tim Pool, The Quartering. If you're any of the big channels, it's essentially like YouTube. It's just, it throttles content. It doesn't promote anything for anybody. And it's pretty much a big old boys club. Or it's just like who's in with who and who kisses Elon Musk's booty the most. And this show will not kiss any booty because we answer to our Lord and Savior. All right, so let's get to our first story of the night. Let's talk about it.
Markets right now is a brand new Truth Social out from President Trump. The Dow is surging now up 1,500 points on this. President Trump has just put out a Truth Social saying, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the U.S. to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called reps of the United States, including the Department of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the U.S. And here's the big news grabbing the headlines. I've authorized a 90-day pause, capital letters, and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. He finishes with, thank you for your attention on this matter. That's a new Truth Social, John, out from the president moments ago. The market's obviously reacting to that.
All right, so that's the big deal. The market is reacting, and it is something that's interesting. It's kind of funny the way this went. You know, people don't really want to look at how the market goes, or a lot of people don't understand how it goes. And first of all, as I said before, if you want to get into the market, you have to understand that it is essentially, as David Simpson, a very smart man, much smarter than me, has said, it's essentially the Wall Street casino. And if that's what you want to get into, that's fine. You have to understand that you're at your own risk. But if you are going to get into the market, you have to not be reactionary. People are so spooked by stories of the Great Depression and stories of people losing all their money in a day and all of the terrible things that go along with the market, which are precautionary tales, that at the slightest hint, and of course with the legacy media, who you don't hate enough, they're backing, people freaked out and people decided to dump stocks. People decided to react terribly or figure that the end is nigh and they needed to just dump, or the tariffs are going to cause the Great Depression and this is going to be awful and I can't believe Trump is doing this, and people are just crying. Everybody just needs to relax. Everybody, and that's what people like myself, who is not very smart in the market, but listening to others saying, hey, it's a day. It's one day. And of course, people who are trying to push this on social media, like I have my Republican buddies, which they never do, saying I regret voting for Trump because I lost all my money in the Relax one day. One day. Just relax. Now, yes, if people play the market right, do they get richer? You're 100%, Cesar. You're 100% right. Those people made money today. And one of the reasons is because they have money, and B is because they don't freak out at the market. I told you Monday that I gathered up as much money as I could, and I decided, and you don't have to agree with this, you can let me know if you think it was stupid. I appreciate your input. I decided to go in on Monday. I told people I'm going into the market Monday morning. If Apple is low as it was, and I did, I grabbed as much stock of Apple as I could. I grabbed some other stock, and it's all producing well for me. Because I'm not trying to turn around and short sell it. I bought this to just let it sit. I'm happy to have Apple for the next 10 years until I need it. But people freak out because financially, we're not taught about the stock market. We're not taught about, the only time we mentioned the stock market in school, and I know this because I used to teach history, in economics, we never talked about the market. You just talk about the theoretical macro, micro ideas of economics. They wouldn't talk about, hey, you know, this is stocks and track your stocks. And hey, you know, if you buy the stocks you buy, make sure you can divest in those and all these other kinds of things. But people didn't want to listen to that. They wanted to say, Trump is going to screw us. This is going to be terrible. I can't believe we fell for it. Well, maybe you did, because the only people, and we talked about this Monday, this whole thing, the tariffs, and we talked about it on Liberation Day, and I don't know why my internet's giving you nonsense. I apologize. The entire thing was aimed at one country. And that one country is Donald Trump. And by the way, if I'm having internet problems, it's because Astound Internet is the worst period internet provider on the planet. I don't know who you have for internet, but I have a company called Astound Energy or Astound Internet, and they are without a doubt the worst provider of internet on the planet. They are terrible. They are absolutely god awful. And so I apologize for that. And there's no other, since I live in kind of a rural area, I don't have a lot of other options. So thank you for hanging out with me and putting up with it. I appreciate it. But the idea is China was the target of all of this. It was. It absolutely was. And yeah, live, quote unquote. It's astoundingly bad. It's so bad. I'm sorry. Like, there's nobody else in the house, and I have a direct line into the modem. I shouldn't have any internet problems. It is astoundingly bad. I hate it. I'll clip this out, so I don't care. I'll just keep talking. You know, Starlink actually might not be a bad plan for me. I just don't want to give Elon money. I just don't. All right, now, like I said, this will be the second part of the clip. China was the target. It always was the target. And people don't understand that it was, because they don't realize that Trump has had his eye on them since 2016 and even sooner. He's always been talking about how much he wants to tariff China and so forth. So he led the Chinese into this ridiculous back and forth where he put the what was it, 50% tariffs, and then the Chinese said, we'll put 35%, and he's like, well, I'll put 100, I'll put another, and it'll be 104. And then the Chinese said, well, we'll make it 85. And then Trump's like, I'll make it 125. And they were like, we do more. And then he went, you know what, I'm just not going to tariff anybody else. And then the Chinese went, what you do? Why you do that? And now they're kind of left holding the bag. Now, am I saying this is like an art of the deal type maneuver? Maybe. But the entire thing is, oh man, hey, looks like we lost you guys on Getter. So sorry about that. I'll figure it out. Maybe I can only get so much, but it's one of these things. It's one of these things that have to be considered. Anyway, this was Trump explaining the tariffs today.
Saying be cool. And just a few hours later, there was a pause put in on the tariffs. Can you walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know. They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. It's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75. And they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John, they'll do somebody, they'll go through somebody, but they're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible.
So the thing people are coming away with here is that the tensions politically between China and these United States would lead eventually to some kind of hot war somewhere, some way down the line, because China is trying to position itself to take over as the world superpower, which we've talked about on this program. The demographics are not in their favor for such a thing, but they're trying to, and they've had an advantage in trade because they've been tariffing and taxing us for so long that somebody was going to have to do this. And the idea I talked about on Monday, and I'll just reiterate here before we move on, is that I'd rather do this now. I'll say it once again. I am one of the people that is I am for economic protectionism. I am 100% for it. So that's my bias. I'm not going to try and come to you and say, oh, I have no bias. I'm biased. I think it's a good idea. Whether you disagree with me or not, that's fine. Let me know in the comment section down below if you disagree. I'd love to know why. But the idea is I'd rather do it on, it's like a controlled crash. Words. Would you rather know it's coming and prepare for it, or have no idea? And that's what we're kind of seeing with the tariff back and forth. And he did lull the Chinese into putting a huge amount of tariffs and then being pulled back and being the only ones left. So, I mean, in some ways, Cesar, I am about the process in some ways. The next story, I'm about to criticize Trump and Cash Patel and everybody else. I will call a spade, and I don't mind this idea because we were the only major Western country to not enact tariffs on anybody because we were being treated like a strip mall with an airport, as I've been saying for a couple days. Everybody else has been taking advantage of us because our economy is so outsized that we could kind of absorb it. I mean, look at the relationship we have with Canada. Canada tariffs us at an ungodly rate. They don't you can't get a US cell phone in Canada, or you can't get like a T-Mobile plan or anything like that in Canada. You can't get a home. There's so many things that Canada enacts as far as economic protectionism for themselves, yet they criticize us for doing it. So is it a perfect process? I will say it's not. I don't think it's a perfect process, but I think it's necessary. I think it needed to take place. So we'll see how it goes. All right, this is Rickcast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we're talking about. And if you disagree with me, let me know. I am open to disagreements, and I like, because it makes the show better. I like to hear opposing viewpoints simply because it makes everybody who listens that much smarter, besides listening to me, because that doesn't help sometimes. All right, folks, let's get to our next story of the night because we're already like 45 minutes in. Next story up. Time to go after the Trump administration because I am the author of The Armed Catholic, the Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense. I will put up my letter from the bishop telling me I couldn't use the name the Armed Catholic, who he's now the bishop of Galveston, but you know, you got to celebrate your wins and your losses. But Trump ran and he went to the NRA and he said, I'm going to be your biggest defender of the Second Amendment. I'm going to restore your rights as gun owners. And we all went, no, you're not. No, you're not. We're only voting for you because if Kamala Harris gets in there, she's going to enact a nationwide gun ban and she's going to go door to door looking for guns, because they essentially were doing that under Biden. So Donald Trump makes big change at ATF as Kash Patel exits. And Kash Patel was one of these T-Pusa conservative bros who was going on all the big podcasts talking about how, you know, MAGA this and MAGA that, and this needs to be changed, and I'll do this, and I'm about the American people. Maybe he is in one point, but now he's there, man. He is loving life. You see him taking pictures with all these other guys. Yeah. Why didn't he just shut it down? Yeah. Nope. They're not going to shut it down. They talk a big game, but they don't do anything, especially when it comes to gun rights. They're terrible. They're terrible. And we know this because they nominated Pam Law and Bunny Bondi to be the AG, who was the architect of red flag laws in Florida. So you know that's not going to be it. And they try to, oh, well, there's an executive order to restore our gun rights. Okay, where the hell is that? What's happened? Nothing. Wait till you hear this story. It's ridiculous. Kash Patel is too busy running around flying on helicopters with the FBI with his cool guy sunglasses to actually do all of the aspects of his job. When Donald Trump named, who wrote this? Cam Edwards at Bearing Arms. When Donald Trump named FBI Director Kash Patel as acting director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the presumption was that Patel was taking on additional job duties on a temporary basis. Still, I don't think many folks were expecting Patel to step away from doing double duty after just a couple months of the job. And that's exactly what happened. However, with Trump naming Secretary of the Army Daniel Driscoll as the new ATF acting director today. FBI Director Kash Patel has been removed from his role as acting director of the ATF, and the job has been given to the Army Secretary. Now, if you see this the second part of this paragraph is nuts. ATF officials who learned the news today were shocked and confused. The two DOJ officials said as no explanation for the change was given. The Justice Department did not respond to our request for comments. Driscoll, who is 38, PR 39, is expected to continue his job as Army Secretary. Both roles are normally considered full-time. Sources say Kash Patel has not been inside the ATF facility for weeks. But he's out there with his cool guy sunglasses, pumping out Twitter statements. We're going to get these guys. We're going to do this. Blah, 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 blah. Epstein, I'll say what? And not that I care about the Epstein files. I don't. It's a promise that they made that they didn't cash in on. Oh, really? Daniels is a friend of a friend. Good people. Well, let me ask you this, Michael. Do you think he's better equipped than Kash to do the job? So Michael Thomas is like our it's like our secret weapon on this show. Hey, look, we found the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia. I've been there. It's like, what? So, like I said, Michael Thomas is the key to this show. It's not even me. So let's get to this. If Patel's absence from ATF HQ and his workload at FBI were the primary reasons for his departure, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to appoint someone else. He's already at the full-time gig in the administration as the new and temporary head of the agency, which makes me wonder how long Driscoll himself will stick around and who Trump might name, if anyone, as his choice for permanent ATF director. It's also unclear whether the other personnel moves that they may be making. On Tuesday, Bearing Arm said he expects Assistant ATF Director Marvin Richardson, who's been handling much of the day-to-day duties, will also be replaced. The fact of the matter is, this whole thing is a representation of how, if you are somebody who values your God-given right to keep and bear arms, meet the new guy, same as the old. They can promise as much as they want. And I told people during the campaign, yeah, vote for Trump so it's not Kamala, but don't expect anything from him. Remember, Trump bumped stock Donnie. Trump was one of the authors of the first real legitimate pieces of gun control that had happened. Gun control you couldn't get under Obama, you got under Trump. So this idea that we're gonna appoint these people and they're gonna get this done, nothing's gonna change. You're not the one thing that may happen, and it makes me upset to no end, is the fact that Thomas Massie, and I love Thomas Massie, 99% of the time is put in this bill for national reciprocity. Let me get my thoughts out, and if you know me, you know exactly where I'm going. A bill for national reciprocity, because it's a constitutional right, is the single period, dumbest period, piece period of period, legislation period, ever, period. This idea that we're going to pass a national quote unquote law for reciprocity in the state of California and or New York and or New Mexico or Rhode Island or any of these states will acknowledge it is stupid, foolish, and gives the federal government more power. Yeah, roll into California saying, I got my national reciprocity bill. They're going to throw you in jail and make you prove it. This is stupid. It's stupid, and it's a waste of time. You should have gotten suppressors off the NFA. You should have got SBR, short-barreled rifles, off the SBA. Instead, we wasted our time with another, the Second Amendment is my permit nonsense. The Second Amendment is not your permit, because if it was, then you wouldn't have 44 state constitutions that have their own version of the Second Amendment in them. Because remember, states are supposed to act autonomously and not under the heel or the boot of the federal government. So yes, that's my rant there. This is just a right here, this headline. It is a view into the fact that the Trump team is flashy. They're all a reflection of Trump. They're flashy, they take photos, but in the end, not much really gets done. And let me be clear, a lot of time, a lot of us are okay if nothing gets done. The problem is magatards are going to just be like, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. But no, it doesn't solve it. How are you going to make California enforce it? How are you going to make California allow that? How are you going to keep people from New York or Oregon or Washington from throwing you in jail on a felony charge because you broke their state law? You can't do that. It's got to be one or the other. It doesn't. Crotchy, you and I disagree on this one. It doesn't solve the problem. It's a waste of time, and it gives the federal government more power, because guess what? Let me game plan this out, and then we'll move on to the next story. Let's say in 4 years, when President BBL, shout out Brian and G Money, President BBL shows up, and now in order to use national reciprocity or U.S. constitutional carry, you have to abide by the California rules of constitutional carry. You have to get a permit, and we're going to make the testing the California version of testing. You guys think I'm nuts when I say something like this, but I can absolutely see the federal government saying, yeah, you have constitutional carry, but you need to get a permit for it. You need to get a U.S. permit to constitutional carry, and in order to do so, you need to pass the California qualification for it. So don't do any of it. How about you just leave it alone and leave it to the states? If California wants to ban it, don't go to California. I don't. But no, we're just going to shove these things down your throat. And, it's not a good look, guys. I just don't like it. All right, next story up on Rickcast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Here we go. To the stage. Nope, none of that on any of you. Bye-bye. Harley Davidson CEO. I hate the New York Post ads. Joaquin Zidis. Well, that doesn't help. Very all-American name. Retiring as plummeting sales, tariffs slam the motorcycle maker. Harley Davidson's Jochen Zidis plans to retire as CEO in 2025. The company said on Tuesday, ending a 5-year tender marked by efforts to revive the American motorcycle maker by struggling with plummeting demand. Zidis, who had helped revive German footwear brand Puma, because shoes and motorcycles are the same thing, joined Harley's board in 2007 and was tapped as a CEO in 2020. Zidis, 62, launched the hardwire strategy in 2021 to turn around the storied motorcycle. And I think the hardware, if you guys are smart with that, the hardware was the electric motorcycle. I think that was it. And everybody was like, why would I want an electric motorcycle? You can't even get it in Texas. The hardwire is only available in like California and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny that let's see, Harvey. Let's see if that gets us. Nope, gets us nothing. All right. The 5-year strategy involved prioritizing high margin, exiting international markets with low sales volume, and modernizing the brand's appeal. Now, if there's one brand that is associated with boomers, it's Harley Davidson. A lot of young people, like, I can say that now because I'm 43, I'm a middle-aged man. So the younger people, if they're going to buy motorcycles, they're going to buy Hondas. They're going to buy Suzukis. They're going to buy crotch rockets, whatever the sport motorcycles. They're not going to buy an overpriced Harley. And I honestly, there was a while back. I don't remember the day. I don't remember the magazine, but there was one time a while back, 10 years ago, where the strategy of Harley, they brought Justin Timberlake in to be a spokesman. And as soon as I looked at that in the magazine I was reading, I'm like, yeah, Harley's dead. Because Justin Timberlake is not going to move motorcycles for young men. But they're overpriced. They are not really, they trade their brand, because the thing was, they had that brand, but that specific type of brand is aging out. So they got desperate. And they started to try and just grab at whatever they could. And that, as you say, Crotchy, alienated their core base. So they lost on both fronts. Jaquen has done a nice job shrinking Harley's global footprint and refocusing the company on its core touring bikes and larger cruisers, said Raymond James analyst Joe Altabello. Unfortunately, the industry has been challenged by several factors, including higher interest rates. The same time, consumer appeal to prefer smaller bikes, which is not Harley's strength, right? You can get a Honda bike that's pretty comparable to a Harley for half the price. And if you're an entry-level biker, if you buy you're not buying a Harley because it's too much. The first time you actually fall off it, so ruin it, you're going to be pissed. But at least with a smaller, cheaper bike, it softens the blow. Harley in February forecast 2025 profit and motorcycle revenue to be down 5% as consumer temper big ticket purchases. And that's what Harley is. Harley is the same thing, like a motorcycle now too. We're in a different economy where motorcycles and boats, the luxury purchases, you're not buying a motorcycle for your everyday cruiser. Unless you live in a place like maybe like California or like Arizona or someplace where the weather is so good that you can drive it the majority of the year. And as saying, if you're going to buy a daily driver for a bike, you would rather invest your money in a Honda or Suzuki or something else that actually will run a better percentage of the time. And so the fact that Harley was a big ticket item and the baby boomers could afford it, just like a lot of other things like houses and other big ticket items, generations after don't have wealth. There's the millennials, my age bracket, a very small percentage of millennials actually own homes. All of the wealth is kind of stored up in the baby boomer generation. And they're not moving on. They're not retiring. They're still in politics. They're in all these places. And that money is not trickling down to younger generations because they don't have opportunities to actually get into these positions. So that affects the entire economy. People can't afford houses. They can't afford things like boats or all these luxury ticket items that we as a consumer economy need to move. And so it's one of these things that, they loved it when the baby boomers were the majority and they were in control and they had the money and they were just buying these things hand over fist. But hey, now they're aging out and Harley didn't plan for it. Longbow research analyst David McGregor said the prospects for meaningful progress appear farther out of reach as Harley gets caught up in the crossfires of an emerging global trade war. Harley shares were down 1% at $22.90 midday. A lot of people don't realize this too. If you look at the old Harley Davidson logo, it used to say Harley Davidson inside the shield. They don't have that anymore. Why? Because they make most of their stuff. I should have done research. You know the deal. Where are Harleys made? Harley. Oh, thank you for listening. But parts. The parts are sourced from various places: Italy, Austria, Japan, Mexico, and China. And then they assemble them in York, Pennsylvania, and in Wisconsin so they can be like American made. It's the same thing Ford does. It's the same thing Chevy does. It's the same thing a lot of other products that have that made in America label on them. Yeah, millennials, we were stupid. We didn't listen to a lot of them. Gen Xers got absolutely hosed by baby boomers as well. So you're right about that. Millennials, we never listened to begin with. So, yeah, Harleys are just another foreign company pretending to be an American company. And when that came out, a lot of people who were loyal to the Harley brand got upset because they were told Harley is an American brand, nothing more American than Harley. And then they found out most of it was foreign parts just put together in an American factory. So they're thinking about bringing in, the rumor is one of the candidates is the lady that helped sink Bud Light with Dylan Mulvaney. And of course, as the thing goes, they're going to put in somebody else with an MBA that has no real business experience to lead the company because of DEI points. And that's another thing. Harley went away from men. And I'm not saying women don't ride motorcycles. They obviously do. But the majority of people that ride motorcycles like Harleys or Indians or something, or those are men. Men ride motorcycles. Now women can, and they do, and it's fine. But like with many other things in male dominated areas, whether it's guns, motorcycles, fishing, you name it. Yes, women participate in these areas, and it's great that they do. But you cannot change the entire frigging industry. And I'm sorry for the language. You cannot change the entire industry for women. You can't take your core audience, your core base, and tell them to shut their face and sit down while we change the entire product line, while we change everything to appease a smaller group of people who will buy because they apparently have the buying power, even though the majority of them are in debt. And then tell their core audience to go away. And that's what a lot of these companies got in trouble with. They were told by MBAs to chase the female dollar. Oh, don't worry, the men will buy it no matter what, but you want to get that female audience. If women are not interested in guns, motorcycles, cars, whatever the case may be, they're not going to be interested if you put like a pink bow on it. And that's the problem with Harley and a lot of other companies that have found themselves in these precarious positions. All right, this is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Look at me going into overtime with you people because I love you. One more story for Cesar because he's very interested in this story. From bleedingfool.com, a Minecraft movie beats Super Mario Brothers movie as the biggest video game movie of all time. The era of the nerds are truly here. Hollywood needed a Minecraft movie to be a hit, and it delivered in its opening weekend, significantly narrowing this year's box office deficit. No one gets just how big it would be. In its first few days in theaters, the movie earned a staggering $157 million in ticket sales from theaters in the U.S. and Canada, according to studio estimates Sunday. Internationally, it's looking for an additional $144 million for a global debut of $301 million. Now you have school spring break, and then you have Easter week, and you have a lot of these other times where children are going to be out of school. It's going to get a lot of repeat business. not only is this movie, which this was the production quality of a Minecraft movie, the biggest movie of 2025, it also broke the record for video game adaptations previously held by Super Mario Brothers. Going into the weekend, analysts projected Minecraft might hit 80 million. Instead, it nearly doubled. Nothing's guaranteed in the movie business, but an offering based on the best-selling video game of all time makes for a good start. It hardly mattered that the block-based game doesn't exactly have a narrative. Many of its 200 million active monthly users play out or turn out in droves anyway. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't have a plot. And it doesn't matter that the acting is terrible. It doesn't matter about any of these things. It matters that it has 200 monthly users, and these people would come out in force for a game that they support. And the big thing was there was no messaging in the film. There was no political messaging in the film. It tried to stay as true as it could to this whatever. There is no source material, but it did all the references that people who wanted to see it, they got those references. They got their payoff for going to the movie. Essentially, the Minecraft movie did this thing that most modern movies don't do, which is give the people what they actually want. I know it's strange, but it actually happened that way. And now you're seeing it with $300 million. It's probably going to cross $1 billion. What are we in April? By the end of the month. Because there's no competition. There's no competition. Spring break and Easter week and all of these other slots of time are coming out where kids are going to go and see it more often than not because it's escapism, it's slop, and, it's entertaining. And I'm happy that the theaters are getting people to go into them because those are the people that really suffer, right? Your theater owners. The next movie that's coming out that people are kind of excited for is from Angel Studios. I don't know if you guys have seen this, the promos for this movie. I think it's called The Greatest Story Ever Told. Or is that a different thing? The King of Kings. Yeah, that was a different one. This animated film called The King of Kings is supposedly coming out by Angel Studios, I think next week or this Friday. And that's going to take some money from the Minecraft movie as well. But those are the only two real animations that are at the theaters right now. But it's crazy when you actually give people what they want, when you give people what they are looking for, they will actually come out and support you. All right, folks. It's starring Triple H, the King of Kings. No, this one's actually like the appropriate King of Kings. This one's an animated film by Angel Studios. Was it made by Mormons? Okay. That's interesting. So I don't know if that's, is Angel Studios? I think Angel Studios is run by Mormons, isn't it? I'll look into that and get that. Angel Studios is Mormon. Yeah. Yeah, that's, it's tough. It's tough to go with outfits like that. It's a great point, guys. But some people will support it. Some may not. Either way. All right, folks. That's it for this episode of Rickcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Please do me a favor. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. That helps the show grow. We actually had like a good showing on YouTube today, guys. So thank you. We have a really good showing on Rumble. So that's great. We had a great showing on Getter. I can't wait to get more into Getter because those guys look like they're going to be really, it's going to be a great place to go watch this show as well. All right. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.